So, with the Four Nations Face-Off tournament going on in full stride, we've had crazy American performances and Team Canada going out there and fumbling the goaltending, you can say. Swedes are underperforming and the Finns are clawing their way back in it. But ultimately, I think this puts a bigger emphasis on some of the top guys that these teams have to offer, and in particular, young guys that probably one day will don the sweaters of their nations. I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to dive into one of the USA's potential top power play quarterbacks, and a guy who, right now, for the Montreal Canadiens has gone through a little bit of a dry spell. You know him, you love him. Today we are talking about Montreal's bet for Rookie of the Year this season, Lane Hutson. This show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel in the process. Lane has been in a pretty tough spot the past few weeks here. Sure, he is still producing some points, he is getting on the board once in a while, but he is far removed from the point streak that he saw at the start of January into the later part of the month. Hutson this season is at 41 points in 56 games played, which is really good for a 21-year-old left-handed defenseman, and he actually has grown a little bit since his draft-eligible year in 2022. But Hutson this season is in a pretty difficult spot, manning the power play on a pretty bad Canadiens team. The production's fine. He's on pace for 60 points. That's a fantastic season for any defenseman in the National Hockey League. But when you think about the ceiling, when you think about what we're seeing recently out of Hutson, the fact that he has never played an 82-game season. He has played some games with the US NTDP, for example, but they were never up in that 80-game territory. He's starting to feel the wear and tear of a long NHL season, and teams are starting to shut down what is Lane Hutson's most valuable and accessible tool, Patrik Laine's one-timer. So now, when you think about the Lane Hutson conversation, things are a little bit different than they were a month ago, when he was scoring a point per game and he was looking really fantastic and he was making all of these incredible things happen on the ice. And sure, he'll still go out there and make a nice pass or make a nice read or shimmy-shammy on the blue line once again like he's been doing his entire career. But I wanted to head over to a post made on the rHabs subreddit, which dives into one of the biggest things that Hutson needs to improve upon. Is this the biggest need for the Montreal Canadiens' young blue liner? Take a look at this posted by Chazio TV. If Lane Hutson wants to be a true power play one quarterback, he needs to work on his shot or adapt. I want to preface this by saying, I was at the draft when the Habs picked Lane Hutson, and I must have looked like a complete psychopath yelling at the top of my lungs for a late second-round pick. His rookie season has been incredible, historic even, and he has the potential to be one of the best defensemen I've ever seen play for the Habs. That being said, I know criticizing the only good American left in our baby boy Lane is basically blasphemy, but I wanted to put this out there since there isn't much Habs content lately. Yeah, you can say that again, man. Ay, it's been tough trying to figure out things to talk about with this Canadiens team. So, cheers to that. When you think of the best power play defensemen, Makar, Hedman, Bouchard, Yossi, they don't just dominate with their IQ, skating, passing, and puck handling. They're also legitimate shooting threats, which forces penalty killers to respect them in multiple ways. You may have noticed I left out Quinn Hughes, and that's because I think he's a great example of the adjustment Lane might have to make. When asked about his improved shooting this season, Quinn said, "Nothing too much, just trying to get in spots where I can score more, not just being on the blue line, being a little bit lower." I know this isn't some scorching hot take. Hutson himself calls his own wrist shot a muffin. I just hope the coaches recognize this is a major gap in his game and either push him to develop his shot or tweak the power play to let him play lower where his strengths can shine. And this post on the sub has 0 upvotes right now. It's at 37% at the time of speaking into this microphone. So it doesn't seem like something Canadiens fans are agreeing with in general, or, nah, that's the wrong way to phrase it. They're agreeing with this sentiment, and even the comments are going out there and saying, yeah, like, I agree. But I think there's question as to whether or not this kind of a thing is even worth bringing up. I agree, Dick's Steeler says, but you can't seriously tell me there's 32 better options than him even if his shot doesn't get better. A better shot would push him as a top-tier power play quarterback, but he's already a true power play 1 quarterback. That's a good point. I guess it's a similar argument with Suzuki being a true number 1C. He is, but if you look at teams that win the cup or at the top of the standings, it's those top-tier players that put you over the edge. And I think that's a fair assessment to look at when it comes to defensemen in the National Hockey League. Lane Hutson, it's immediately an impossible task to say that there are 32 other defensemen in the league that are better than him at manning the power play. I'd say he's probably top 10 already, to be honest. It's just the shot is really holding him back. And I love the fact that Quinn Hughes was used as a comparison over here, because Quinn is almost exactly the same kind of rover offensive defenseman that Lane can be. Look, I've watched both of these guys throughout entire seasons worth of time in the NHL for Quinn and throughout Lane's rookie season here. Quinn Hughes had a pretty bad shot to start out his NHL career. 8 goals, 3 goals, 8 goals, 7 goals, before exploding for 17 goals last year and 92 points. The crazy part is, this season he's on pace to doing more than that, and he's also on pace for 8 fewer games played. Quinn Hughes is a man on a mission, and he had developed his shot to an extreme capacity over the past year and a bit here. He has started to put the puck on goal, he whips it, he uses that flex, he throws it towards the net, and he finds those areas where goaltenders are not, and he's able to put the puck in the back of the net. It's really, really dangerous nowadays. It's opening up more for him too, because other teams and other goalies are like, oh crap, we have to pay attention to Quinn in the shot now, which opens up passing lanes and allows Quinn to exploit other teams' defenses even more than he already did in the first few years of his career. It's why he has a Norris after all, and it's why, in my opinion, he should be in the contention of getting it again this year and maybe even the next few years. Lane Hutson, it's kind of difficult to go out there and request anybody to be the second coming of Quinn Hughes, but if Lane can get similar shot development and shot mechanics and power in the way he whips it towards the goal, then this guy could be all of a sudden opening up even more opportunity for the Line A one-timer bomb and the inevitable Ivan Demidov snipe on the right. If, of course, you would ideally throw all these guys together. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this criticism on Lane Hutson? Do you think it's worth bringing up? Do you think it's one of these, oh yeah, duh, like we don't really need to talk about it because we already know it's an issue here, sort of things? Or do you think it's kind of fun to sit back and idealize what a prime shooting version of Lane Hutson could look like and what the production of that guy could bring at the NHL level? Do you think he attains Quinn Hughes' status of getting a 90-plus point season or maybe even being on pace for multiple? I think the sky's the limit here with Lane Hutson. Of course, though, it all depends on the quality of talent of guys around him. If Patrick Laine, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, Doc, and Demidov can inevitably get going with their point production too, it's hard for Hutson to get assists when the rest of the team is not scoring after all. But I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm going to leave a link in the description of the Reddit post as well. Check out ExpressVPN, our primary sponsor, for extra support on your VPN. Use our link to get some free months, save some money, support the channel. Thoughts in the comment section about this Lane Hutson conversation. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.